Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. As we were discussing the most important sections of MP Accommodation Control Act in the last video, let us start with where we had left. Although I would suggest that before we start today's video, you go through section 12 in the last video once again. Let us see section 13. Subsection 1 of section 13 says, where a suit is instituted under section 12 by landlord or an appeal is preferred against eviction order by the tenant, then on an application the court may order the tenant to deposit or pay to the landlord within 1 month of notice or summons or institution of appeal rent for the defaulted period and thereafter to continue depositing or paying rent in court by 15th of every month. This subsection basically protects the landlord's source of income so that the tenant does not stop paying rent to him for the accommodation which the tenant is still in possession of during court proceedings against him. If there is any dispute regarding amount of rent payable by the tenant under subsection 2, the court shall fix reasonable provisional rent at the earliest opportunity. If there is any dispute regarding the person to whom rent is payable, under subsection 3 the court may direct the rent to be deposited in the court itself and no person can withdraw the amount unless the court has decided the issue. Under subsection 4, if court is satisfied that such dispute under subsection 3 is raised by the tenant for false and frivolous reasons, it may strike out the defense of the tenant and proceed with hearing the case. Under subsection 5, if a tenant deposits or pays rent as per subsection 1, then no order for eviction shall be passed against him on the ground of default in payment of rent. However, the court may ask the tenant to pay certain costs to the landlord. Under subsection 6, if a tenant fails to deposit or pay rent under this section, then the court may strike out the defense of the tenant and proceed with the hearing. Let us now jump to chapter 3a. Before we discuss section 23a of chapter 3a, let me take you through definition of landlord given in section 23j. Why is it important? Because this chapter, including section 23a, is applicable only on those landlords as are defined under section 23j. Section 23j defines landlord for the purpose of this chapter. First category is a retired government servant including retired member of defense services. Second category is retired servant of a company owned or controlled by central or state government. Third, widowed or divorced woman. Fourth, physically handicapped person. Fifth, any government servant who is not entitled to government accommodation on his posting in an area where he owns a house, or even if he is entitled to such accommodation, he has to pay penal rent for it. Section 23A is a special provision for eviction of tenants for bona fide requirement, available only to such landlords as are defined under section 23J, which we have just now discussed. The provisions of this section will prevail over any other law or contract to the contrary. According to this section, a landlord may submit an application for eviction to rent controlling authority signed and verified like a plaint under order 6 CPC. This section is different from section 12 as here the landlord need not go to civil court and file a suit for possession, which is supposedly a lengthy affair. Instead, he goes to rent controlling authority. Now, two grounds given in this section are A. Accommodation which was let out for residential purposes is required bona fide for occupation of the landlord or his family member or any other beneficiary, and the landlord or that person does not own and possess any other reasonable and suitable residential accommodation in the same city or town. Residential accommodation in this section includes an accommodation which was originally let out for residential purpose but is without the express consent of the landlord being used for non-residential purposes. Also, any accommodation unless let out expressly for non-residential purpose will be considered to be residential. B. Accommodation was let out for non-residential purposes is required bona fide by the landlord for his business or for business of his major son or unmarried daughter or any other beneficiary, and he or she does not own and possess any other reasonable non-residential accommodation in that town or city. These two grounds are subject to the proviso according to which where a landlord has acquired any accommodation, no suit shall be liable under this clause unless 1 year has passed or elapsed from the date of acquisition. Going on to section 28. How is this rent controlling authority appointed? As per section 28, the collector on approval of the state government appoints an officer who is not below the rank of deputy collector to be the rent controlling authority of the area under his jurisdiction. The collector may also appoint one or more rent controlling authorities to assist the rent controlling authority appointed above. Again, the appointment should be only on the approval of the state government. An officer should not be below the rank of deputy collector. The last section for this video, which is section 29, defines the powers of rent controlling authority, which are the same as that of a civil court under the CPC, namely summoning and enforcing the attendance of any person, which basically means calling him and if he does not come using authorized force, and examining him on oath. Next, requiring the discovery and production of documents. Next, issuing commissions for the examination of witnesses. Now, such proceedings before RCA shall be deemed to be judicial proceedings within the meaning of section 193 IPC, which specifies punishment for giving false or fabricated evidence, and section 228 of IPC, which specifies punishment for intentionally interrupting public servant. And the RCA shall be deemed to be a civil court for the purpose of sections 480. Under 480 CRPC, practicing pleader is not to sit as magistrate in certain courts in which he is practicing. And under section 482 CRPC, the High Court has inherent powers to pass orders to prevent abuse of the process of any court or to secure the ends of justice. So basically all these provisions will apply to the office of rent controlling authority as well. Subsection 2 says that for inquiry purposes or for discharging its duty under the Act, the rent controlling authority may A. Enter and inspect any accommodation at any time between sunrise and sunset, but it may do so after giving at least 24 hours notice in writing. B. By written order require any person to produce accounts, books or documents relevant to the inquiry. Now this is it everyone. As it was not a general video, so I have not explained a few technical terms which I might have used here and there. Still, I have tried to keep it as simple as I could. To me, these sections seem to be the most relevant from examination point of view, but I have been requested to compile rest of the sections of this act and the other local law as well. I hope these videos have helped you as much as they have helped my friends. So please like, share and subscribe for more such videos.